This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so yesterday we started discussion on the functions, how the functions are going to write in the script, what are the types of the functions are there, and what are the different kind of signatures when you are implementing the functions. So all the fundamental things of the functions we discussed yesterday. So if you see, what do you mean by a function? A function is nothing but it is a self-contained block of the statement which can perform a specific task is called function. Self-contained block of the statement which can be performed a specific task is called function. So by using function, what we can do, why functions are required? Main advantage, reusability and reusability and the modularity. So by using function, I can write the reusable code. I can write once and I can use many times. And you can make your application in the modular format. That is the advantage of the functions. So by using functions, some functions can receive the data and some function may not receive the data. Some function can return the data, some function may not return the data. That means returning the data or taking the parameters is always optional. So some function may receive some data, some function may not be receive the data. This is completely optional. So function means self-contained block of the statement which can perform a specific task. What is the advantage means code reusability, modularity in the application. So depends on the signatures. Maybe some function returns value, maybe functions doesn't return the value, maybe some function required parameter, and maybe some function doesn't require parameters. Then types of the functions. So basically there are two types of functions are exist. One is going to call built-in functions, existing APIs, existing function which are going to provided by the Apple itself. And the second one is user-defined function which you are going to implement. So based on the arguments type and the return type, user-defined functions basically four types. No argument passed and no return value. Without parameter, without return type. Second one, no arguments passed but return value. Without argument, return type. Third one, argument passed but no return value. With parameter, doesn't returns value. And the final one, with parameters and with return type. So these are all signatures we verified yesterday. Then, few points. What is the use of inout type? So what is inout type? So by using inout type, or when we are passing a parameter by using inout type, whatever the logic we are executing or whatever the things we are doing within the function, that particular changes will impact on the actual variable. So this inout is a substitution concept of the pointers. By using inout variable or by using inout type, if you are passing a parameter, in that particular case, if the function is changing the value, that value will impact on the actual variable location. So when you are passing the inout type, you have to send the reference, and this inout is a substitution of the pointer because Swift doesn't support pointer. What is the internal and external parameter in Swift? So whenever you are going to pass a parameter to a function, you can specify two variations of name. One is within the function, whatever the parameter I am going to use, that name we are going to call as a internal name. And when I'm calling the function, so when I'm calling the function, whatever the variable label I'm going to see there, that is going to call external. So it's not recommended that, or it's not mandatory that every function should have internal and external parameters. So generally, if the internal parameters are there, those internal parameter itself it can be name label directly. Then what is the argument labels and what is the parameter names? In function calling statement, whatever the variable name you are going to see, in the function calling statement, whatever the variable name you are going to see, those are going to call as the argument label. In function calling statement, whatever the variable name you are going to see, those are going to call as the argument label. Argument label is exactly same as what? External parameter. Okay, argument label is same as external parameters. Argument labels are same as external parameter, whereas the parameter names are same as the internal parameters. Then how to omitting a argument label. So if you want to omit the argument label, just you have to make sure write underscore before the variable name, then you can omit the argument label. Just writing the underscore before the name. Then how to return multiple values from a shift function. So by default, function will support to return only one value. If you want to return multiple values from the function, then you have to use tuples. If you want to return multiple values from the function, then you have to use tuples. These are the things we discuss, and few things are pending. Okay, go ahead and open the code, yesterday code, what we are implementing. So everyone, continuation of yesterday session, function playground. So here is a function. We define the different kind of functions, and see these are the parameter names and these are the argument labels. And in order to omit parameters, just give the underscore. And these are the message called external, message one is called internal, right? So here is a parameter labels you are getting. Then we discuss how to return the values and what is the inout type variable, what is the advantage of inout type, and function returning multiple values by using tuples, right? So when you are using inout type, in order to send the values, what we are doing, just we are using a reference of that particular variables. These are the things which we discussed yesterday. Any doubt in this particular code which we executed yesterday? Any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay, fine. So continuation of
No,
yesterday
sir.
topic. Yeah, default parameter values. So what is the default parameter values means? Whenever you are going to define your function, sometimes maybe few arguments I am not going to pass. Sometimes maybe few arguments I am not going to pass. So when we are not passing any kind of arguments, by default, we can say directly, okay, take this particular date or take this particular value as a default value. So you can pass this kind of default value directly in order to find. For example, function sum of integer value 1 of int comma value 2 of int equals to 20. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here, what I'm trying to say, my function is going to take two parameters, both are integer type. First parameter is an integer and the second parameter is an integer which has a default value called 20. Okay, and it returns simply another integer value back. Return value 1 plus value 2. And how to utilize this one? Just try to follow the coding standards also, like giving one empty line after return statement and body up between the return and body there is no new line, and between the value and the variable comma, and there's a space with after the first parameter name, again the value equals to Try to follow the good practices or good standard coding skills. Then let sum1 equals to sum of integer. Guys, can you check how many signatures I can see of my function?
Two.
Two
Right.
signatures I can see, right? Why I can see two signatures? Because one argument is a mandatory, second argument is optional here. Optional means don't consider optional value because second argument has a default data. So I will use like this 10. Then what I am going to expect return value here? Returns 10 plus 20, right? Returns 10 plus 20.
Yeah.
Then let sum of 2, sum of integer, I will use 10 and 30. So this case, it should return 10 plus 30 value. Print sum1 string interpolation 1, then sum2 of 2. What's this? And where this sum2 is getting? Why it's returning 40? Yes, it's a 40, 10 plus 30, perfect.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you please tell me once again what is internal parameter like?
Okay, this value 1, value 2 is called internal parameters, or in order to tell parameters.
Okay.
Okay, because whatever the variable you are using inside the body of the function, those are internal parameters. Okay,
Mhm.
body of the variables. Within the body of the variables, whatever body of the function, whatever the variable you are using, those are called parameters or internal arguments. Okay, now these are the variable labels, right? These are going to call argument labels. So this argument label, what I am saying, no outside. Let me change. Don't change from your end, just for the example. Int value 1, int value 2. Okay, then now it will give error because right now what I can see here, int value 1, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is called external parameter because this parameter I can't use inside the body. This parameter I can use as a name variable, variable label. So at the time of calling statement, whatever the parameter name I can see, that is going to call as an external parameter or argument label. So argument label is external parameter, right? Within the function I can't use. Can I use it here? No, I can't use. It gives error there because this is only for external. So within the function, whatever the variable you are going to use, that is called internal. In calling statement, whatever the variable or the argument label you are going to see, that is going to call external. I hope so it's clear.
Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Finish. Now, the another topic is VADIC parameters. This is going to call argument list or arg list. What it does, by using this approach, we can pass n number of parameters to a function. N number of parameters to a function. So it doesn't going to, it doesn't gives any kind of problem or it doesn't gives any kind of error. By default, you can pass. So how means it's required dot dot dot, three dots. It's required three dots. Function print sentence word of string dot dot dot, and returns a string. Okay, then where sentence equals to empty string. Then, so here I'm changing the name to words because multiple words. For of word in words, sentence equals to sentence plus word, and here one space, and say return sentence. Okay, then print sentence, print sentence words hello, welcome to okay. So it's not printing, right? We have to get this output back. So printf print or the output. So it's taking a list of strings. It's taking a list of strings and combining those all together and returning back a complete sentence. So how it is implemented means by using three dot. This is argument list which can take any number of arguments. Not only the string, you can apply to the any number of.
When do we use this most commonly? In what scenario?
No, we are not using, but existing functions are implemented based on this topic. Maximum we are not using. Like if you consider print is implemented based on this one only. You go to the print, see print signature, items, any, dot, dot, dot. Maybe
Okay.
rare cases, I'm not sure because I'm not used any scenario. Maybe possibilities, but just make sure that there is an approach where you can pass any number of arguments without any condition. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Then nested function. So what does mean nested function?
Function within function.
Function within the function. Generally other languages doesn't support, but yeah, here it supports. Let's say function main function. Okay. Main function. Then function of function. Then say nested function. Then other function. You can define any number of functions like this. I can call main function. Can I call nested function? Can I call nested function? So if you want to use that function directly, then you should not go for the nested. I'm in the main function. Nested function is not executed, right?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Because we are not calling nested.
Okay. Now can I see both things, right?
Yeah.
So that the meaning is that I want to define a function which need to be helps me to execute some logic of another function. I will repeat the sentence in another way. I'm defining a function, something called main function, a main block, and that block wants some other logic which required from that function itself. Then I can define like this. But nested function, you can't access directly outside. Whatever the nested function you are using, you can't access direct. That's it. Except that one, rest of all are same. Okay.
Okay.
Now, one example is a final example. Functions can take optional type and returns optional also. Means don't consider, okay, these are the things only can do. Everything you can do. Okay. Just I'm going to take a list. Function find max of list. Okay. List int. What I'm passing? What
Array
I'm
of
passing?
Optional parameters.
I'm passing what? Optional.
Optional parameter.
What? I'm passing what?
array of integer.
Array of integer. Optional array of integer. And I will say like this. What does mean?
Optional array of integer which returns integer.
Optional. So parameters I was passing in the previous cases, maybe integer, character, string, anything you can pass. It can be the optional also. See, whatever the types we learn, everything is possible to pass. And it can be passed in the optional type, it can retrieve the optional type also. Okay, let's consider var result of integer optional. Okay, then result equal to 0 for of item, that means value, and I will say list dot repeated. Okay, so it is saying that optional. Now I will use late binding. If of let list data equals to list. What does mean? What is called?
Unwrapping.
No man. What it is called? Ramesh. Kabir, Ankita, anyone? What it is called? Optional binding. Optional binding. Optional binding in the sense querying the data from a optional, either the data is exist or not. So when I know the list is empty, I can't write the logic directly, because if I want to execute the logic directly, everywhere I have to use question mark, everywhere I have to use nil collision operator to get the data. So I'm using optional binding. So what this optional binding will do, whereas the right side argument is optional, right? If this data is exist, then only it will assign to list. So optional binding is a process of querying the data from an optional variable if it is exist. Optional binding is a process of querying the data from an optional variable if it is exist. So if this is not nil, then only it will exist. If it is nil, then this is not going to exist. Okay. Then for of value, where I'm saying list data. Then if of value is greater than of result, then result equals to value. Alternate, result equals to value greater than result, then value, or else result itself. Then finally, end of the body, say return result. Doing now, what we are doing now, should be outside. Right? It must be unwrap. I don't want to unwrap. I can say like this. Okay, then let max value equals to find maximum of the list 10, 20, 50, 30. Okay, then print. Also you'll get warning, the function returns function returning optional int. So your variable is optional int. Okay, okay. So just I'm checking the net speed. So it's fine.
Sir, your voice is breaking.
So print max value. That's why it is gain. So I can do nil collision of 0. I can do.
I think it is
Let
again
me.
started breaking.
Sir, your voice is breaking.
This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Finish. Now continuation. Object oriented programming. So basically how many types of programming language will be exist if you say procedure oriented language, structure oriented language, and object oriented programming languages. These are the languages which are exist. Procedure oriented in the sense we are going to develop the application based on the module. Structured language means a top down approach. It is a C. Traditional C is called structured programming language. Object oriented language is a completely high level programming language. Okay, so object oriented programming generally it's going to call as a OOP. What it is, what are the things we have to do? Let's say working with OOPs, object oriented programming synapses. OOPs in the sense object oriented programming synapses. Some people will say system, some people will say syntax. It's wrong. Object oriented programming synapses. So what does mean? An object oriented program is enables the programmer to think like they are working with a real time real life entities. So object-oriented programming is enables a programmer to think like they are working with the real-time entities. That means whatever the things we are going to do in object-oriented programming, everything is interrelated with the real life object model. So whatever we are going to use or whatever the structure of the programming we are going to do, everything is linked with the real-time object models. Okay, then object-oriented programming is a language model that organizes software designs around the data or objects rather than functions and logic. Up to now, whatever the example we discuss, even though today and yesterday's session also, we implemented the code based on the functions. When you implemented the code based on the functions, you given the priority for your functions and the logic, not for the data, not for the objects. So in object-oriented programming language, the model of organization or organizing a software design is always works through two words only, around the data, around the objects. So data and objects only the fundamental words or the principles when you are working with the software designing based on the object orientation. So in traditional C language, if you consider, the priority is given for the functions and the logic, not for the data. That means data security is a zero. So data security is a zero when you are considered the procedure or structure programming language. But when it comes to the object oriented languages, priority is given for the data. So data and the objects have heavy priority and heavy secure. So we are not giving any priority for the logics and the functions here. Then an object can be defined as a data field that is a unique attribute and behavior. So whenever you are working with the object-oriented programming, whatever the object you are going to construct or whatever the data model you are going to construct, the data model or the object has some attributes and the behavior. So attributes are going to call as a properties, whereas a behavior is going to call as a functions. So, what's object oriented? Object orientation is a programming principle or programming methodology which allows you to develop the application based on the real-time object entities. Based on the real-time object entities. So in object-oriented programming language, we are not giving the priority for the functions or its logic. In object-oriented programming language, we have to give the priority for data and its objects only. So in object-oriented programming language, whatever the data model you are going to implement, the data model having a unique properties, attributes and behavior. Then principles of OOPS. So there are four principles in any languages. Whenever you go, there are the four principles will be exist for the object orientation. The first principle is going to call as encapsulation. So object oriented programming is based on the following principles. The first principle is going to call as a encapsulation. So encapsulation means, I will give a fundamental example, tablets. So if you consider the tablets, medicines, where there are the two variation medicines will be there. One medicine where you can get directly and another medicine like specially capsules. So the capsules has some kind of outer layer which has the different colors. Some capsules will get red color, some capsule will be black color, some capsule will be the white color, some capsule will be the combination of two colors. Anyone has the idea why those capsules having the color layers? Anyone having the idea why those capsules have the color layers?
Like inside the capsule, two different chemicals are there. That
No.
is why.
See, inside the capsule, whatever there, that is a medicine. But the capsule layer is not the medicine basically. Within the capsule, whatever the there, that is a medicine. But capsule layer is not the medicine, but that capsule layer has a different colors. What is that color? Why they are making a different colors? Why? Anyone?
Maybe to distinguish between the uh, contents of the medicine.
No. Ankita, Kabir, what's your answers?
To keep it like secured, sir. Like different tablets
No.
have different.
No,
No
no,
idea.
because this whatever the chemical or whatever the chemical they are using or whatever the medicine is there inside the capsule, that medicine can give you a reaction based on the sunlight. So in RGB combination, in the rainbow combinations, one or two or three specific colors can do the radiations with that particular medicine. That's why they give a reflection coating outside. Some medicines can give the radiations, or some medicine can do some reaction inside by using the white color. So the outer layer white color will protect to not enter the white color inside the medicines. This is the basic fundamental. So to avoid the chemical reactions based on the certain color of the sunrise, they are going to protect that layer. So why I use that example? My encapsulation is the same concept. So what this encapsulation is says, the implementation and the state of each object are privately held inside a defined boundary or a class. That means inside that particular capsule, whatever the data or whatever the medicine is there, I'm trying to protect based on its boundary. The same approach, encapsulation. So encapsulation is a process which protects your data based on a boundary layer called class. So treat like a class is the outer layer of the tablet capsule. Inside the tablet, whatever things are there, those are going to call as a data. So by using this encapsulation, we are trying to restrict any kind of actions inside based on the outside world itself. So conclusion is that by using encapsulation, we are trying to protect my data or the object behavior. It doesn't allow to do any kind of actions outside. So from outside, if something is happening, my inside data doesn't react. That is called encapsulation. So other objects do not have access to this class or authority to make changes, but are only called list of the public functions or methods. So the meaning of this one, according to the first point, when you generated a secure boundary of your data or of your object, through that secure boundary, you are restricting to do some changes from outside world by using any other objects except accessing public functions and methods. And the third one, this characteristics of data hiding provides greater program security and avoids unintended data corruption. So encapsulation means providing a security boundary or the security level layer to a data by using a class. Providing security in the sense no any other objects can directly interact with this particular class and doesn't have the rights to do any kind of data manipulation directly. If they want to do something, any kind of data manipulation or data accessing, they must be accessed through a public methods only. Finally, the first principle saying encapsulation about the security. So in simple sentence, how the people are going to define encapsulation is a process of providing security to the data by hiding within the boundary. Encapsulation is a process of providing the security to the data by providing a boundary layer. So only the public methods can access outside, except that public methods, rest of all are completely restricted. Then the second principle called abstraction. So what abstraction is saying that objects only reveal the internal mechanism that are relevant to the use of other objects, hiding any unnecessary implementation code. The meaning of this one, abstraction will abstract everything. It doesn't shows any implementation or the mechanism what implementation is there inside the class except the objects. So only the object can be manipulate any kind of data. So simply we can say that abstraction is a process of hiding the internal mechanism from outside world or hiding unnecessary implementation code from other objects. That is called abstraction. Encapsulation is about the security, whereas the abstraction is about the exposing things. So abstraction doesn't allows you to expose unnecessary things to outside world. It allows to you access something based on the objects only. Then third principle, okay, this concept helps developer to make changes and additions to the over time more easily. That means by using the objects only, you can access, you can manipulate any kind of data. And the third one is going to call inheritance, is very important one. So inheritance is nothing but it is a relationship and subclassing between the objects can be assigned, allowing to developers to reuse a common logic while still maintaining a unique hierarchy. The simple terms they are going to say, getting the properties and functionality from the parent class to child class, superclass to subclass is called inheritance. So inheritance which allows you to create a relationship from the superclass to subclass. So this property of the OOP focus a more through data analysis, reducing the development time and ensure the high level of accuracy. This is one of the reusability approach. And the final one is called, fourth one is called polymorphism. So polymorphism means many forms. Objects are allowed to take on more than one from depending on the context. That means polymorphism will allows you to providing the multiple form of signatures or multiple behavior of single method. That is called polymorphism, many morphism. Standard concept in any languages: encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, and polymorphism. These are the basic four fundamental principles. In shift also we have these all four principles. So whenever you are going to develop the logic based on the shift, these four principles you have to satisfy. The program will determine which meaning or usage is necessary of each execution of the object, cutting down on the need of duplication code. That means when subclass having a method which is already defined in the superclass, or the superclass method is there in the subclass, then automatically it will decide which class method need to be called. Depends on the situation, depends on the object type, it will decide. Okay, then in order to work with the object orientation, we need classes and structures. So basically, what is this classes and structures? Structure and classes are general purpose user defined data types or the data models. Structures and classes are general purpose user defined data models with the properties and behavior, that is members and methods. So if you consider OOPS, object-oriented fundamental principle is what we are working with a real-time entities. So you have the existing data types, like Shift provides a variation of data types and collection. Those all are going to maintain fundamental types. But if I want to manage a supermarket data layer, data model, if I want to manage, one hospital data model, if I want to manage a booking data model, or if I want to manage a railway system model. So these all are what real-time data model structures. To manage the real-time data model structures, we have to create our own type. In order to create our own types, we are going to use classes and structures. So structures and classes are general purpose user defined data types with properties called members and behavior which called methods. We can define the properties and the methods to the structure and the classes using the same syntax we use to define constant variables and functions. So what we learn in last 7 sessions, everything is applicable to this one. How you created variable, how you created optional variable, how you are accessing the data, what is the optional type, what is unwrapping, what is the optional binding, whatever the concepts, whatever the functions, whatever the type of functions we introduce, everything is possible to introduce or everything possible to use as it is with the same syntax inside the structure and classes also. So come to the first one, class. A class is a like blueprint for a building. An architecture draws the blueprint and then passes it to a constructor. Okay, so what's the meaning of this one? A class is nothing but it is a blueprint of your entity. Like in the general term, I want to construct a building. In order to construct the building, first of all, I'm going to create a plan, right? So that particular plan I'm going to call as a class. So the class doesn't having any physical model. So a class having only the blueprint, how the structure looks, that is going to call as a class. A class is a blueprint of a entity, or a class is a blueprint of a data model. Then an instance is a like building itself. So when you are constructing the building one by one, the construction worker use the blueprint to create the building. So the construction, the physical building, we are going to call as what? Object or instance. So always the people will confuse what is class, what is instance. A class is a blueprint of my data model, whereas the instance is a physical implementation of that particular blueprint. So instance of the class are called as an object. Okay, no any memory will be created for a class, only for the object. See, in order to define the building plan on the paper, in order to define the building plan on the paper, you doesn't require any kind of raw materials. Right. When you are constructing the building, then you need the raw materials. Same concept for the last point. For defining a class to design a data model, it doesn't take any memory allocation. Memory allocation will be happens when the object is constructed. Okay. Then before going something else, let's start with the classes directly. Okay. So any doubts on these topics?
No,
No, right?
I just wanted to ask one thing. Inheritance was there in Objective C or not? Because
Yes,
I
yeah.
have heard some other way we were following in inheritance.
No, inheritance is there in Objective C also.
Okay.
Uh, Objective C also object-oriented programming language.
Okay.
It's there. But the fundamental concept was multi-level inheritance was not supported there and here also.
Yeah. I got confused with that, I
Yeah,
guess.
because see, inheritance is exist in both, but still single inheritance, multiple inheritance,
Hmm.
multi-level inheritance, and hybrid inheritance. So
Hybrid.
we single, yeah, we have single inheritance, we have multi-level inheritance. We don't have the multiple inheritance.
Okay. In Swift,
So one
do we
class,
have multiple?
Single inheritance means what? One class, one
Yeah.
class. Multi-level in the sense what? One class is inherited from another class and that is inheriting from another class. Single layer with multiple structure. Multiple in the sense what? One particular class you are defining from more than one class, which is impossible. In Objective-C also not possible, in Shift also not possible. Okay. So this drawback of Objective-C and Shift will leads to another concept called delegates and protocol actually. So single inheritance, multi-level inheritance, only two types. In order to implement multiple inheritance approach, we have to go for protocols and delegations approach. That is something unique, different. Okay. Now go to Xcode. Xcode is gone. Okay. So create a new playground. Say class. Yeah, class playground. Okay. So I don't want to create a complex structure to give the confusions to you. So basic. So whenever you are going to work with the object orientation, what is a basic approach? What is a basic thing? The entity, whatever we are going to create, that entity looks like a real-time model. Okay. So creating a class. Use class keyword. There is a keyword called class. And the second point is a syntax. Class, class name, colon, superclass. If it is exist, otherwise leave it. Open, close. What do you have to write here? Data, members, and methods. Means variables. Methods means functions. Okay, now superclass is optional. If it is there, use. If it is not there, no need to use. Fine. So try to take a real-time object model. Class vehicle. So vehicle is a real-time object model, right? Okay. Generally, vehicle has which properties? It's a real-time model. Generally, vehicles has which properties?
They could be two-wheeler, three-wheeler, and four-wheeler. That is one. And the expensive, some is like expensive one.
Yeah. So, okay. So any kind of basic vehicle should have some properties, right?
Yeah.
And should have some functionality also,
Yeah.
right? So same thing I'm trying to concentrate here. Don't go more complex. think like a basic things only. So var of wheels of integer by default 0.
That can be
So
petrol and diesel thing
sorry,
also. Petrol, petrol vehicle and diesel that can use that.
let's go with the next one, basic fund, because I want to finish the concepts based on certain boundaries only. Okay, we can define as, you can modify later also, no problem. So every vehicle has number of wheels, that is one property. And the second one, max speed of that particular vehicle. What could be the speed? By default, both are zeros. Okay, then I'm writing a function. See, function statement, everything you got automatically. Drive, parameters, nothing, void. I can leave like this also. Print, what I'm doing. This vehicle is driving. Okay, finish.
Yes.
So this is the basic syntax. What this syntax is indicates, I'm creating a class called vehicle which have two members and one method, which have two members, one method. Both members are integer and there is a method which prints only the right. What next? So here you have to consider a point that in order to create this vehicle class, it doesn't take any memory. It's a zero memory now. So when the memory will be constructed?
We create the instance object.
Yes. So these are, we are going to call as a properties. Try to remember the words, because stored properties, computed properties, like something I'm going to use in earlier. And these are going to call as functions. Okay. Now the second one is what? Creating instance. What do you mean by instance? Object. Okay, creating instance is nothing but object. So how to create? How to create?
Var.
Var or let, because maximum
Var
people
will
will go with the any options.
yeah
Var
var object,
object name and
then
space
initialize the class name.
class name. It may be optional also. It's fine, no problem. Equals to class name, open close. Okay. For example, if you want to create a optional variable, var optional object equal to colon of class name question mark. Okay, both syntax we can use. Let's see. Var my vehicle 1. equals to vehicle, or else var vehicle 2 colon of so let's fully initialize it. This is the optional type. Here it's optional. Then what next? So I created two instances, my vehicle 1, my vehicle 2. There are two instances or two objects that exist. Now the next one, accessing properties and functions. So how to access properties and functions? In order to access data and functions, we need to use operator. Syntax was object name dot member or object name dot member equals to value or dot function. Okay, let's do practically. You have how many instances? Two instances, right? Utilize the first instance. First print what are the property? Wheels. I will say vehicle 1 data wheels equals to, tell me the syntax, my vehicle dot wheels, then max speed is what? My vehicle 1 dot max speed. What it should be printed? Should be printed. I want to change it. Now I want to change this one. My vehicle 1 dot wheels equals to two wheels. My vehicle 1 dot max speed 120. Then same thing if I executed. Now I'm going to get like this. Right. Then access the member function. What is that? Dot drive method accessing. Okay, and the second instance is optional, which is not exist. Okay, then what's going to happen? See, I'm working with second instance, vehicle 2. Vehicle 2 dot wheels, expect output. So saying that is optional, right? So I have to use question mark, question mark. So if this instance is exist, then only print, otherwise don't print. It prints like this. Why? Because it's never exist there. It's not initialized at all. So when your object is not initialized, then by default, all the properties are what? Nil. Not initialized. Okay, then think my vehicle 2 dot wheels equals to 4. My vehicles 2 dot max speed equals to 180. Then print. This time we'll get data. This time we'll get data. This time you will get data or not.
Yes.
Sure. Wait. So this time also you are not getting the data. Any reason? Same reason. This is also wrong approach. See, go back, observe. Here, what you did for the object 1, instance 1,
Initialization.
initialization. That means you created object, right? But what is the second of 1? It's optional. Optional in the sense what? It's nil. There is no physical memory for this object, not yet created yet. For this particular object, instance are generated, but memory is not allocated because it is not at all constructed. Then what is the thing? See what you have to do. My vehicle 2 equals to vehicle. Then run. Now you got output like this. Okay. So even though you created an optional instance, that instance must be initialized properly. even though you created a optional, that optional instance must be initialized. Otherwise, you can't get the data.
So why we use optional class instance like in real time?
No, the thing, see, I was used this variable, right? I was created memory, right? Then I realized that this instance no more exists for me. Then my vehicle 2 equals to nil I can do. Can I do my vehicle 1 equals to nil? Can I do like this? No, right?
No.
That means what is the meaning of this one? Throughout your application, my vehicle 1 instance is exist. Throughout the application, my instance 1 is exist. It is not going to destroy it at all. Even though you are using or not, it will be exist there, right? That is doesn't make sense, na?
Right.
That's the thing. So if it is optional, then you can utilize, you can create, use, later you can set back to nil. It will destroy it automatically. That's the thing.
Okay.
Any doubt on this particular code?
One question that you get that warning, no string interpolation
Yeah,
procedures.
you can just query it. So wheels 0, max speed 0, done. Because see what it is saying, that this is optional, right?
Yes,
When this is optional, whatever the data you are getting, that is also optional.
correct.
That's why it is giving a warning. Okay, I know, I don't have any problem. Make it 0, fine. Because if you got the left side argument is a nil, then make it default to 0. Use a nil collision operator, or else make it optional binding. Check. So okay, keep it, this one has 0, and here I will give you syntax something else. Now observe, if let wheels equals to, right? Yeah, wheels equals to vehicle 2 dot wheels, comma, let speed equals to my vehicle 2 dot max speed. Okay, then wheels and speed. Happy? See, here is one more syntax. Multiple optional binding.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now continuation. So what we did right now? Right now we created a class, we created the instances, we accessing, we manipulated the data through the instance only. Okay. Then subclassing and inheritance. So what do you mean? What do you mean subclassing and inheritance? Okay, so vehicle is vehicle only. Vehicle is a vehicle only, but vehicles can have types, right?
Yeah.
Vehicle is a vehicle only, but the vehicle can have types. So if you want to
Yes, sir.
create the vehicle as a type, you can go for subclassing or inheritance. Okay, continue. So existing syntax we can use class race car inherited from vehicle type. Okay, then I will say where has spoiler. Has means what? Has means which type? Boolean type. Is or has is there. There is a Boolean type actually. So I will say equals to true. Then then so this is race car is a subclass, vehicle is a superclass, right? So vehicle related properties automatically will get into the race class. That means a race car contains two properties called max speed, number of wheels, and there is a method called drive. Again, I will repeat this. Race car is a subclass of a vehicle. Race car is a subclass of a vehicle. When race car is created from the vehicle, whatever the properties and the methods are there in the vehicle automatically will available in race car also. That means race car having wheels as well as max speed also additionally has the spoiler. Okay, next
Sir,
drive.
one question.
What's
Yeah,
yes?
that spoiler you told, no?
Yeah.
Similar to the what other one you told?
See, what I'm trying to explain you, when I'm creating a subclass from a parent class related properties, everything will get into subclass and you can add some additional things. That means my race car containing three properties: wheels from the base, max speed from the base, has spoiler its own, and the drive I'm overriding. Okay.
Okay, sir. But you told that hash spoiler is a boolean type. You told
Oh,
one more keyword.
yeah, has spoiler. It can be the is, but you know, is doesn't make sense. Is having like this. So is or has, whenever you make, it has a Boolean types actually. You can create like this. Okay. Then here, override is a keyword allows us to re-implement superclass method. So what is this one? What is this one?
We are
Column.
overriding the Parent
Polymorphism.
class.
Yeah,
Yeah,
polymorphism,
polymorphism, sir.
many forms. So print um, driving race car. Okay, now create the instance. Where race car equals to. So which class we have to use? Race class or the vehicle class?
Race car.
We have to use race car. Then race car dot wheels 4. It's from super class property. Because I'm not defined, I reuse race car dot max speed 400. Race car dot as spoiler equals to false. Race car dot drive. It's from subclass because it's overridden. Okay, then print race car data wheels equals to race car dot wheels speed equals to race car dot max speed as spoiler car dot as spoiler. Okay guys,
Spoiler means
what I can say you spoiler means, let me find out the image for you. Race car
To reduce the wind flow from the backside so that the car cannot
that
flip over.
this is generally for the stylish purpose they are going to use.
Yeah, and that Formula One car, if you see,
Yeah, every
uh,
car has. Maybe if you seen the picture, then you will understand.
oh yes
I,
sir.
I
For
was shared,
yeah, okay.
I was shared a link.
Yeah, okay.
This is done. So this example, or I can say, okay, above example is indicates single inheritance type. I hope so you understand single inheritance here. Okay. Now define another single level inheritance only. Let's say class bus inherited from vehicle. Same, that's also vehicle. For a single inheritance. Okay. Now, whereas this, race car has some different approaches. Now I will give this one. Now tell me, this is a bus which is inherited from vehicle. What could be the, meaningful properties? Meaningful property, right? Where seats,
Yeah. And steering.
steering without steering bus will not there. Now I will go with the gate or number of gates or something like, okay, by default given as a 1. Okay, then what I want to do now, I want to manipulate this one function shift gear, and I will say gear plus equals to 1. Okay, that means just changing. Now where bus equals to bus, okay, then bus dot seats equals to 60 seaters, then bus dot shift gear. What it will do, gear value increment by 1. Again, bus dot gear value. How many times I did? 3 times. Then print bus data seats is bus dot seats, then current gear, I can say bus dot gear. Okay, and if I say bus dot drive, it's from super class because I'm not overridden, right? Done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now get something called single inheritance. What is single inheritance? When a class created from a single base class So according to example, maybe you understand this point. When a class created from a single base class, it's a root class, no more parent for that. That is which type? Vehicle. So what were the example for single inheritance? This bus. It is created from vehicle. Vehicle doesn't have any class. Race car is a single inheritance. Base class is a vehicle. Vehicle doesn't have any other classes. Okay. And the second one, multi-level inheritance we are going to create. Can anyone can define what is multi-level?
We have created this subclass bus, and again we can create some mini bus or something which is derived from the bus. So it's kind of this is a bus taken from vehicle, and another mini bus something comes from bus. So it can be multi-level.
Yes. If we are creating a class from another derived class, if we are creating a class from another derived class, then it is going to call as a multi-level. So let's example try to get on the multi-level. It's easy to understand, no problem. Okay, so we have vehicle has a parent class which doesn't have any other subclasses. From vehicle we created a race car and the bus has a subclasses. Okay, so those are the single. Now I want to go for multi-level. Multi-level in the sense inheriting a class from existing subclass. Okay, for example, what I'm assuming to go class Ferrari. What is Ferrari? What is
Ferrari is
Ferrari?
super
Is a race
uh,
class. Is a race, right? Is a race car.
racing car.
Is a racing car, and we have racing car, right? Now, how it is multi-level? Race car is from Ferrari from race car, and the race car from
Vehicle.
vehicle. And keep on keep on any number of vehicle can be get any other. These all things are going to call multi-level. So what are the additional parameter we can give in the Ferrari? Var color string by default, rest of all are same. Okay, Now I'm going to override drive. How it is overridden is it's there in the vehicle, it's there in the race car. Now it is coming into the Ferrari also. Okay. Print. I'm driving Ferrari color create the instance where Ferrari equals to Ferrari. Now change the color of Ferrari first. Ferrari car dot color equals to, I'm changing to blue. And what are the additional properties we have? Ferrari car dot has spoiler equals to false. What are the things we have? Ferrari car dot wheels equals to 4.
Back
Now
speed.
can I do like this here? Wheels equals to 4. Possible?
Cannot override with a stored property.
Yes. If it is a computed property, you can do. That's a different approach. I will tell you later. Okay. Now blue false, Ferrari wheels, and the Ferrari car but
Max.
max speed equals to 1000 kilometers or something like this. Anything I'm missing? All I'm using, right?
Right.
Yeah, then I will say Ferrari car dot drive. It prints I'm driving Ferrari car, blue color car. Then I can print the data if I need. Ferrari data. What is that? Wheels
B.
equals to Ferrari car dot wheels. What next? Color is already printed. Max speed equals to dot max speed. Right? Set. In iOS, that means objc or set not supported. This is the most of the language doesn't support. Okay, not only the small talk in the sense object we see parent class itself. You know what is the structure of this means? Just it's not possible, but just for understanding purpose, syntax will be like this for this class. Class name superclass 1 comma superclass 2, right? More than one class, or you can say superclass 3, like this. It's not possible. This will not exist basically.